Well, good morning, everyone. First, I would like to thank the members of the media that have come out and showed up today to cover this extremely important issue. My name is Emily Wheeler, EMILYWHEELER, and I work for the Sanctuary Working Group, or SWG. The SWG is a coalition of over 30 different organizations and faith communities dedicated to supporting vulnerable immigrants across Chicagoland. And we facilitate an accompaniment program for people who have upcoming immigration-related appointments. Every week, our volunteers accompany families and individuals in and out of immigration court, ICE check-ins, electronic monitoring appointments, and more. While we will discuss many facts, figures, and numbers today, I want to impress upon you all the importance of remembering that every single number is a person. One decision, one data point in a line chart is another person's whole world. The current blatant disregard that we have observed in immigration court for even a facsimile of justice is unbelievable. Attacks on immigrants are not new, but the tactics that this administration is using are. In my opinion, their playbook is incredibly transparent. They fired judges who won't bend to this administration's wishes, pressured those left to capitulate to their demands, and try to circumvent due process in as many ways as they can get away with. The phenomenon that our volunteers have observed over the past 4 months are being called mega masters. This refers to the current practice of scheduling double, triple, or even quadruple the normal number of cases, packing the courtroom, and speeding up the entire process. They are rescheduling people's court dates originally set for 2027 or 2028 to within as soon as 15 days. For those lucky enough to either check their EOIR case status or receive a notice in the mail, they have little to no time to prepare for their hearing. Those who never received a notice and didn't know they were supposed to be in court are now being issued deportation orders in absentia. Since March of this year, deportation orders issued by the Chicago Immigration Court have more than doubled. In 2024, out of all cases closed by Chicago immigration judges, only 34% ended in removal orders. Just 2 years later, now in 2026, 81% of all cases closed in fiscal year of 2026 ended in removal orders, whether they were given in absentia or not. As they pack the courts with as many people as they can in as short a time frame as they can, they are not only dehumanizing people and sowing chaos, they are also ensuring that the few legal support resources available to low-income families are overburdened and unable to assist even half of those in need. Though this is all very dire, there are still things you can do to help. Specifically, we need your help to get the following information. Here we go. Okay. Specifically, we need your help to get the following information out to any immigrants with active cases in immigration court. Please check the EOIR case status website weekly to see if your next court date has been changed. If you have an upcoming immigration-related appointment and you would like someone to accompany you, you can call the FSN line, which is here, that is staffed by OCAD and ICER. They will connect you to our accompaniment intake form. You can also access the accompaniment intake form by following this QR code here. Please fill out the intake form as soon as possible so that we can have enough time to coordinate with you and our volunteers. Above all, we want to remind folks that you are not alone. No están solos. Con fuerza, esperanza y fe. Adelante. Today we will hear from many different organizations. There's the train again. All right. Today you will hear from many different organizations and groups who will share other resources available to immigrants as well as opportunities to get involved. Now I would like to welcome Diana Rashid from TRP.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Diana Rashid from the Resurrection Project, and I'm State Director of Legal Defense. And I will repeat some of these remarks in Spanish afterwards. Voy a repetir algunas de estas palabras en español después de hablar en inglés. At the Resurrection Project, we provide free legal services to Illinois immigrants, and we work with a statewide network of legal organizations that provide these kind of resources, and we want to let our community members know that these resources are available. We have resources along with our colleagues from Emily's group, the Sanctuary Working Group, and other organizations to accompany immigrants to their court hearings and to represent immigrants in removal proceedings. Immigrants can also request accompaniment to their ICE check-ins. We know that individuals are also at risk of detention at these check-ins and can also request accompaniment by immigration attorneys and by volunteers to these check-ins as well. We know that the current situation, what is happening inside of this building today and many days, it's by design, right? This is on purpose to try to deport people as quickly as possible without due process, without the possibility of having an entire hearing before an immigration judge. And we know that our community needs to be prepared and understand their rights. And we know that it's important to communicate to everyone that if you do not show up to your immigration court hearing, you are at risk of receiving an order of removal in your absence. That is an automatic removal order. And so it's very important that people are attending their hearings, and preferably attending their hearings with accompaniment and having a legal screening in advance of those hearings. As Emily said, it's very important to continue to check the EOIR case status information online on a regular basis. To check the status on a regular basis, because those court dates are subject to change and do change on very short notice. It is also very important to keep your addresses updated with the immigration court and with ICE. These hearing notices are often mailed to the last known address for the person, and it is the immigrant's duty to keep that address updated in real time. We have a lot of resources to help with this. You can look for those resources at the III website at IllinoisImmigrationInfo.org. And you can find resources both for accompaniment and to sign up for consultations for legal services there as well. And very importantly, if you already missed a hearing and you've been ordered removed in your absence, it is possible to file a motion to reopen in some certain circumstances, and it's very important to have a legal consultation to figure out if you can file a motion to reopen, and we have resources to help with that as well. Ahora lo voy a repetir brevemente en español. Sabemos que lo que está pasando aquí en esta Corte de Inmigración es a propósito. Sabemos que están tratando de deportar a nuestra comunidad, a los inmigrantes, sin darles el proceso debido. Y queremos asegurar a la gente que sepan, que conozcan sus derechos y que sepan las consecuencias de no presentarse a la corte. Si no se presentan a la corte, pueden recibir una orden de deportación automáticamente en su ausencia. Entonces es bien importante que vayan a la corte y que sean acompañados por un voluntario, y tenemos muchos recursos para ofrecer esos servicios a las personas. También pueden tener una consulta legal y posiblemente recibir asistencia en su caso. Nosotros, del proyecto de organizaciones que ofrece servicios legales gratuitos a los residentes de Illinois, y estamos aquí para ayudarlos. Entonces, también queremos que la gente sepa que debe de tener su dirección actualizada con el Tribunal de Inmigración, porque ahí a la dirección de ustedes donde le van a mandar los avisos de las próximas audiencias, y estas audiencias y las fechas pueden cambiar en cualquier momento. Entonces es bien importante tener la dirección actualizada, y también puede revisar el estatus de su caso para ver la fecha de su próxima audiencia en la página web de la Corte. Si necesita asistencia legal, puede contactarse con nuestra organización visitando al illinoisimmigrationinfo.org para buscar los servicios legales de los que he mencionado. Y ahora quiero presentar a Katie Curtin. Now I want to introduce Katie Curtin from the Immigration Court Watch. Good morning. My name is Katie Curtin, first name spelled K-A-T-I-E, last name spelled C-U-R-T-I-N, and I am a volunteer with the ICER Immigration Court Watch program. Court Watch volunteers attend immigration court proceedings throughout each week to document what is happening and report trends to partner organizations like those here today. While the Trump administration has been continuously using new tactics to harm our immigrant communities, since May of this year, we have noted a number of disturbing trends in the Chicago Immigration Court as a result of what some are calling mega masters hearings, ordered by the Trump administration. With this new mandate, over 100 people at a time are required to appear in individual courtrooms for mass hearings, often with very little notice. These changes erode due process and diminish the humanity of people coming to this court. In July, so far, in just this courthouse, over 7,000 people were ordered removed from the country, the highest total of any court in the U.S. We do not fault the individual judges or clerks here. In these massive hearings, judges are not equipped to hear details of individual cases. It seems these hearings are being mandated by the administration as additional hoops for immigrants to jump through so that anyone who does not appear can be quickly ordered removed from the country. The immigrants who come to this court live all over Illinois and Wisconsin. Many had hearings scheduled in 2027 or 2028 and were given little notice of the hearing date change, requiring last-minute arrangements to take off work, coordinate childcare, and travel here. They are generally not permitted to attend court virtually, even though a number of the judges are appearing virtually. These initial barriers cause many people to miss hearings, in which case they are immediately ordered removed from the country, even though they may have already submitted applications for asylum or other forms of relief. Our observers can feel the chaos here. There is now a holding space on the first floor of this building for crowds, with no way for people to check in or indicate what time their hearing is scheduled for. They are just held until there is space on the 15th floor where the courtrooms are located. But they are just held in this space until there is room on the 15th floor where the courtrooms are located. But with some judges, if the person is not in the courtroom at their scheduled time, the judge will refuse entry and again, order them removed from the country. Once people are in their courtrooms, the judge and clerk may spend upwards of an hour just taking a roll call to check who's in the room before going over general legal rights, which are confusing and complex even for our observers who regularly attend proceedings. Few, if any, ask questions in a room packed full of people. Their address is verified, they are issued a next hearing date, and then they are dismissed, sometimes 4 hours after they first arrived. None of this is normal, and none of this is what due process looks like. These are our friends, co-workers, and neighbors being treated like animals on an industrial farm to fulfill political quotas. I'm going to repeat that. These are our friends, co-workers, and neighbors being treated like animals on an industrial farm to fulfill political quotas. Please get involved as a court watcher and help us increase transparency and accountability in the immigration court system. You can email us at courtwatch@icer.org. That's courtwatch@icirr.org. And as a reminder, the ICER hotline is also a resource for immigrants and families throughout whatever proceedings they have or may need support with. Up next, we have Peter Zichterman from World Relief.
Hello, I'm Peter Zichterman. I'm the Senior Director of Programs for World Relief Chicagoland. We're a refugee resettlement organization that serves immigrants, and we do so out of the belief that all were created in the image of God. And we also believe that all should be afforded the right to due process. We acknowledge the role of government to enforce laws and, as part of its functions and duties, adjudicate claims for those filing for asylum. Within our laws, though, there is also a commitment to consider credible asylum. Within our laws, there's a commitment to consider credible asylum claims through a fair hearing. And within our country, there's a right to due process for everyone. We are concerned that here in Chicago and elsewhere in the country, through the utilization of tactics such as changing court dates and mega master hearings through which sometimes over 100 people are scheduled for the same time, our government is not following through on its commitment to fair hearings, and that due process is not occurring. To speak to a couple of issues our team has witnessed, these include changing court dates with insufficient communication to the affected individuals, immigrants unable to receive access to a language that they can understand, court buildings clogged with people, often with children along, waiting for hours for their name to be called. In one instance, 217 immigrants on a single mega docket. That's 217 people attempting to demonstrate that they have a well-founded fear of persecution, leaving them unable to safely return home. 217 people jammed into a couple of hours being afforded mere seconds. Knowing this is happening right behind where we are standing, we urge those listening to take action. First, call your elected official. Make sure that they're aware of what is happening, the details of what is happening, and use them to urge their office to press for change and raise awareness to what is occurring here within our country. Also, as mentioned earlier, volunteer, whether by yourself, with a community organization, or with the church. Your witness to these events matter. Your witness to these events matters. And importantly, your presence and support matters deeply to those attempting to navigate the system. Thank you. Next up will be Benjamin Levy of the National Immigrant Justice Center.
Good morning. My name is Ben Levy, and I'm a senior attorney with the National Immigrant Justice Center. I'm here today to talk about the in absentia removal order crisis in Chicago. I help staff our Immigration Court Help Desk, which for over a decade has provided free orientation and information to people appearing without counsel here at the Chicago Immigration Court. The last 2 months have been the worst months on record here at the court. May 2026 saw more than 4,000 removal orders issued. June 2026 beat that record with more than 7,000 removal orders issued. Critically, over 3/4 of those removal orders were issued in absentia, meaning that they were issued to people who did not come to their hearings. Why did people not come to their hearings? In many cases, because they did not know that they had hearings. The Immigration Court is scheduling people for hearings with perhaps 2 or 3 weeks notice, and given delays in mail, many people are finding out that they have a removal order at the same time that they're finding out that they had a hearing in the first place. Other people perhaps are aware that they have a hearing, but life circumstances mean that they're unable to attend. A couple weeks ago, someone texted the Immigration Court Help Desk hotline. She was 9 months pregnant, and she'd been scheduled for a hearing the same day that she was due to be induced. We prepared an emergency motion to continue for her. She went into labor the night before, not knowing whether she'd wake up to getting an in absentia removal order the following morning. Fortunately, in the nick of time, that motion was granted. But many, many more people are not so lucky. They're unable to find counsel, or they're not aware that they have a hearing. And even when people make it to this court, they are still getting removed for failure to appear. How is that possible? It's possible because of the chaos that's upstairs. There are so many people that they're unable to hear their names being heard. A judge may not even see someone in their courtroom. It's an absolute nightmare. In closing, I'd like to make 2 points. The first is this. If you have immigration court in Chicago, if you have a friend with immigration court or a loved one in immigration court, it's really important that you check your case status online regularly and take a screenshot when you do so. That way, you'll be sure to catch any changes in hearing dates. And you'll have the proof that you need to fight to reopen your case if you're unable to make that hearing, or if you're not aware of that hearing. And secondly, there's no right to counsel in immigration court, which is in part why the work of organizations like NIJC and others is so important. We're grateful to our partners at the City of Chicago and at the State of Illinois for their support of access to counsel programs and access to justice programs, and we call on them to continue supporting those efforts. Thank you very much. Next up is Sam Cole with the ACLU of Illinois.
Good morning. My name is Sam Cole, and I'm the Chief Immigration Litigation Counsel with the ACLU of Illinois. And I came to the ACLU from my position as an immigration judge. I was an immigration judge right here in Chicago for 9 years, including right here in this building. I had a courtroom right here in this immigration courthouse. For 9 years, I was a judge here. And I can tell you, the immigration courts are not like a normal courthouse. If you go down to 219 Dearborn, you'll see a federal courthouse with federal judges who are appointed by the president, confirmed by the Senate, and they serve for life. Immigration judges aren't like that. That's not how the immigration court is set up. The immigration court is a part of the U.S. Department of Justice. Right, it's an arm of the DOJ, and the head of DOJ is our nation's chief law enforcement officer, the Attorney General. So you have a court system that is part of a law enforcement branch of government. If that makes you uncomfortable, it should, because if it didn't work well before, you can see how horribly it works right now. It's not just that there's a thumb on the scale of justice, but under this administration, there is no scale and there is no justice. Immigration judges who don't follow this administration's agenda are fired. Period. It's happened in Chicago many times. It's happened all over the country. This is not an independent and fair court. It is a law enforcement agency with people with judges who serve until the administration doesn't like what they're doing. We have seen now in this administration, Illinois residents arrested by ICE and moved to faraway detention centers and have hearings in faraway immigration courts. Immigration courts where due process is disregarded. Immigration courts where people are trying to get out of custody, arguing quite appropriately that they're not a danger. They've been here years and years. They're not a flight risk. They have families who they've been living with for decades. But the immigration judges decide that they're not going to release them on bond, either making up factual bases that just have no basis in reality, or following totally erroneous legal interpretations of who is required to be detained. This is what happens when you have immigration judges who are worried about getting fired and keeping their jobs. This doesn't just affect, obviously, the people who are detained. It affects their families. It affects their communities. It affects everybody. And it's not just that they are held waiting for their hearing for a final hearing. It's that they're ordered removed without having a chance to be heard. Or it's that they're held in horrible conditions. We in Chicago have heard a lot and seen a lot about Broadview. And the ACLU, along with other organizations, brought a lawsuit that put the horrendous conditions at Broadview to an end. But that doesn't mean the conditions are good elsewhere. People who go through Broadview are brought to immigration detention facilities in other parts of the country and are detained in horrible conditions with insufficient food, insufficient health care, and in squalid conditions. This is the state of immigration detention right now in the United States. And that brings us to mega masters. Mega masters, as you've been hearing, are hearings where one judge for a couple hours is supposed to preside over a hearing for over 100 people. Right? 100 people are ordered to come to court for a hearing in front of a single judge. That doesn't work. First of all, they're ordered to appear in court very quickly. Right? Sometimes they have hearings many years down the road, and suddenly their cases are advanced, and they're ordered to show up. They don't get the notice. Right? They don't either. The immigration court is sending the notice to the wrong place. They just don't see it in time. They don't have a lot of notice. They don't have time to get counsel. And I can tell you, when you have over 100 immigrants in immigration court in front of one judge, they don't have an opportunity to be heard. From my time as an immigration judge, I can tell you these mega masters absolutely do not satisfy even the minimum due process that's required for immigration hearings. Why is that? Right, these immigration mega masters are designed so that people don't show up. They're designed so that immigration judges essentially are required to order them removed. Immigration judges are instructed that if someone does not show up for their hearing, they have to order them removed. And that's what's happening. People are afraid to come to court, people don't get notice, people don't have attorneys, people show up in the wrong place, and they are ordered removed. And that is not fair. That is not consistent with anyone's understanding of constitutional due process. This affects not just the people on the court call, it affects their spouses, it affects their children, it affects their congregations, it affects every community in Illinois. It is really an abomination of due process. It's just not fair, and it's designed to have the exact effect that we're seeing that it has, which is people are ordered removed without having their day. We and the ACLU of Illinois and all the organizations you see here are going to continue to fight for meaningful due process, for judicial independence, for decision makers who are fair and impartial, and for the constitutional values that this administration has entirely abandoned. Thank you. I would now like to introduce Kiki Mosley. Ms. Mosley is the president of the Immigration Lawyers Association Chicago chapter, and is a tremendous advocate for due process rights and the rights of non-citizens.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Kiki Mosley, and I am the chair of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, or AILA, the Chicago chapter. AILA is a national bar association of over 18,000 immigration attorneys and law professors. Our members appear in immigration courts every day, representing individuals and families, navigating one of the most complex legal systems in our country. What we are seeing in immigration court today should concern anyone who believes in the rule of law. Until recently, many judges struggled to complete master calendar hearings with 30 to 40 cases. The sheer scale of these mega master proceedings is truly unprecedented. Our already overextended attorneys are receiving hearing notices on extremely short notice, and irrespective of whether the attorney is already scheduled in other courtrooms at the same time. Judges are telling us that they are not allowed to continue cases for legally valid reasons. Cases are being assigned to different judges at the last minute. Hearings are being rescheduled simultaneously. Courtrooms and hallways are packed with frightened people of every age, many without lawyers because there's no meaningful opportunity to retain counsel. Many relying on interpreters, and many simply trying to hear their names called while overwhelmed court staff struggle to manage this chaos. Our attorneys are not asking for special treatment. We are asking for a process that allows us to effectively represent our clients and allows the court to effectively administer justice. We have witnessed immigrants being ordered removed for missing their court dates, not because they did not come to court, because they arrived on time, and amid the overcrowding and confusion, could not find the correct courtroom or hear their court case being called. These are not just numbers on a docket. These are human beings, many of whom have complied with the law, appeared for their hearings, and are simply trying to navigate a legal system that has become nearly impossible to navigate. As immigration attorneys, we practice in these courts every day. As immigration attorneys, we practice in these courts every day. And even we have found these rapidly changing calendars and overcrowded proceedings increasingly difficult to navigate. If trained immigration lawyers are struggling to determine where they need to be and when, it is unrealistic to expect unrepresented immigrants, many of whom do not speak English and have never set foot inside a courtroom, to successfully navigate the system on their own. Due process depends not only on having rights, but on having the meaningful opportunity to exercise them. Federal regulations require immigration judges to ensure immigrants understand the charges against them, their rights, and the proceedings before them. Those protections exist because removal proceedings can separate families, return people to persecution, and permanently alter lives. The immigration court backlog is real, and everyone agrees that cases should move efficiently. But efficiency cannot replace fairness, and a courtroom is not a production line. When the government's emphasis shifts from ensuring that each case is fairly heard to processing as many cases as possible, we risk reducing justice to a numbers game. Due process is not measured by how many cases can be called before lunch. These developments also highlight a structural problem that AILA has raised for decades. Immigration courts are not independent courts. They operate within the Department of Justice, where court administration and docket management remain subject to executive branch direction. Regardless of who occupies the White House, judicial independence is strengthened when judges are able to manage their courtrooms free from political pressure. That is why AILA has long supported the creation of an independent Article I immigration court, because justice must not only be fair, it must also be perceived as fair. At its core, this issue is not about politics. It is whether our legal system continues to provide every person with a meaningful opportunity to be heard before one of the most consequential decisions our government can make, whether someone may remain in the United States or be removed from it. Thank you.
And that concludes the speakers program. If you'd like a follow-up interviews with folks, we can set that up on the side. Okay, thank you everyone.